So if someone asked you for the 3 words that would sum up your reputation, what would you say? How would people describe your judgment, your knowledge, your behaviors in different situations? Today, I'd like to explore with you why the answer to this question will become profoundly important in an age where reputation will be your most valuable asset. Now, as many of you know, Airbnb is a peer-to-peer marketplace that matches people who have space to rent with people who are looking for a place to stay in over 192 countries. The places being rented out are things that you might expect, like spare rooms and holiday homes. But part of the magic is the unique places that you can now access. Tree houses, teepees, airplane hangars, igloos. If you don't like your hotel, there's a castle down the road that you can rent for $5,000 a night. It's a fantastic example of how technology is creating a market for things that never had a marketplace before. Now let me show you these heat maps of Paris to see how insanely fast it's growing. This image here is from 2008. The pink dots represent host properties. Even 4 years ago, letting strangers stay in your home seemed like a crazy idea. Now the same view in 2010, and now 2012. There is an Airbnb host on almost every main street in Paris. Now, what's happening here is people are realizing the power of technology to unlock the idling capacity and value of all kinds of assets, from skills to spaces to material possessions in ways on a scale never possible before. It's an economy and culture called collaborative consumption. But the real magic and the secret sauce behind collaborative consumption marketplaces like Airbnb isn't the inventory or the money. It's using the power of technology to build trust between strangers. Because at its core, it's about empowerment. It's about empowering people to make meaningful connections. Connections that are enabling us to rediscover a humanness that we've lost somewhere along the way. By engaging in marketplaces like Airbnb, like Kickstarter, like Etsy, that are built on personal relationships versus empty transactions. We're literally beginning to realize that we have wired our world to share, swap, rent, barter, or trade just about anything. We're sharing our cars on Witcar, our bikes on Spinlister, our offices on Loose Cubes, our gardens on Landshare. We're lending and borrowing money from strangers on Zopa and Lending Club. We are trading lessons on everything from sushi making to coding on Skillshare. And we're even sharing our pets on Dog Vacay. Now, welcome to the wonderful world of collaborative consumption that's enabling us to match wants with haves in more democratic ways. Now, collaborative consumption is creating the start of a transformation in the way we think about supply and demand. But it's also a part of a massive value shift underway, where instead of consuming to keep up with the Joneses, people are consuming to get to know the Joneses. But the key reason why it's taking off now so fast is because every new advancement of technology increases the efficiency and the social glue of trust to make sharing easier and easier. Now, I've looked at thousands of these marketplaces, and trust and efficiency are always the critical ingredients. Service networking. It's essentially about how we use our online relationships to get things done in the real world. 70% of this new labor force were previously unemployed or underemployed. When you think about it, it's amazing, right, that over the past 20 years, we've evolved from trusting people online to share information, to trusting to handing over our credit card information, and now we're entering the third trust wave, connecting trustworthy strangers to create all kinds of people-powered marketplaces. Virtual trust will transform the way we trust one another face-to-face. How to ensure our digital identities reflect our real-world identities? Do we want them to be the same? How do we mimic the way trust is built face-to-face online? How do we stop people who've behaved badly in one community doing so under a different guise? In a similar way that companies often use some kind of credit rating to decide whether to give you a mobile plan or the rate of a mortgage, marketplaces that depend on transactions between relative strangers need some kind of device to let you know that Sebastian and Chris are good eggs. And that device is reputation. Reputation is the measurement of how much a community trusts you. The difference today is that with every trade we make, comment we leave, person we flag, badge we earn, we leave a reputation trail of how well we can and can't be trusted. And it's not just the breadth, but the volume of reputation data out there that is staggering. Just consider this. 5 million nights have been booked on Airbnb in the past 6 months alone. 30 million rides have been shared on carpooling.com. This year, $2 billion worth of loans will go through peer-to-peer lending platforms. This adds up to millions of pieces of reputation data on how well we behave or misbehave. Now, capturing and correlating the trails of information that we leave in different places is a massive challenge, but one we're being asked to figure out. The big challenge is figuring out what data makes sense to pour, because the future is going to be driven by a smart aggregation of reputation, not a single algorithm. Ultimately, when we get it right, reputation capital could create a massive positive disruption in who has power, trust, and influence. Indeed, reputation is a currency that I believe will become more powerful than our credit history in the 21st century. Reputation will be the currency that says that you can trust me. Now, the interesting thing is reputation is the social economic lubricant that makes collaborative consumption work and scale. But the sources it will be generated from and its applications are far bigger than this space alone. You know, there are only a few windows in history where the opportunity exists to reinvent part of how our socioeconomic system works. We're living through one of those moments. I believe that we are at the start of a collaborative revolution that will be as significant as the Industrial Revolution. In the 20th century, the invention of traditional credit transformed our consumer system and in many ways controlled who had access to what. In the 21st century, new trust networks and the reputation capital they generate will reinvent the way we think about wealth, markets, power, and personal identity in ways we can't yet even imagine. Thank you very much.